Imagine a medication that changes how your brain perceives hunger, helping people lose and keep off 15 to 20% of their body weight. This isn't science fiction, it's the reality of GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Wegovy, which have taken the world by storm. These drugs are more than a trend. They're reshaping the conversation around obesity and weight loss. But how do they actually work? That's what we'll uncover today. We'll break down the real science behind these medications, cutting through the hype and misinformation. Let's dive into the mechanisms that make GLP-1 drugs a true medical revolution. To understand GLP-1 medications, we first need to know what GLP-1 is. GLP-1 is a hormone your body naturally produces after you eat, signaling to your brain and organs that you're full. In people with obesity or type 2 diabetes, this system often doesn't work efficiently. GLP-1 is broken down too quickly, or not enough is produced. GLP-1 medications are synthetic versions of this hormone, engineered to last longer in your body. They resist breakdown, staying active for hours or days, not just minutes. This means a stronger, longer-lasting "I'm full" signal. The result? A powerful tool to restore balance and help control appetite. GLP-1 medications work through four main pathways, creating a multi-pronged attack on weight gain. First, they target the brain's appetite centers. Second, they slow down how quickly your stomach empties. Third, they help regulate blood sugar. Fourth, they reduce food cravings and mental food noise. This isn't about willpower, it's about changing your body's signals. By addressing both the physical and psychological drivers of hunger, these drugs make weight loss more natural and sustainable. Let's break down each mechanism. The brain is ground zero for appetite control, and GLP-1 medications go straight to the source. They cross into the brain and bind to receptors in the hypothalamus, the body's appetite headquarters. Here, they amplify the "I'm full" signals and quiet the "I'm hungry" ones. For many with obesity, hunger signals overpower satiety. GLP-1 drugs tip the balance, making fullness the dominant message. The result: less urge to eat, more control over cravings. It's a neurological reset for your relationship with food. GLP-1 medications also slow gastric emptying, the rate at which food leaves your stomach. This means you feel full for much longer after eating. The stomach's stretch receptors keep sending "I'm full" signals to your brain for hours. People on these medications often find they can't eat as much in one sitting. Meals become smaller and hunger between meals fades. Instead of eating every few hours, you might go 6 or more without feeling hungry. This physical effect reinforces the brain's satiety signals. Together, these changes make sticking to a lower-calorie diet much easier. The first and arguably most profound way that GLP-1 medications work is by directly influencing the command center of your appetite, the brain. This is not a secondary or indirect effect. These medications are specifically designed with a molecular structure that allows them to cross the highly selective blood-brain barrier. This protective membrane typically prevents many substances from entering the central nervous system, but GLP-1 agonists can pass through it. Once inside, they travel to key regions of the brain and bind directly to GLP-1 receptors, initiating a cascade of changes in neural signaling. This direct line of communication allows the medication to fundamentally recalibrate the deep-seated biological drives that govern hunger, fullness, and overall eating behavior. The primary destination for these medications within the brain is a small but immensely powerful region known as the hypothalamus. You can accurately think of the hypothalamus as your brain's master regulator or appetite headquarters. This tiny almond-sized structure is tasked with the monumental job of maintaining the body's internal balance, a state known as homeostasis. It constantly monitors and adjusts critical functions like body temperature, hydration, and energy levels. For our purposes, its most important role is in regulating energy balance. The hypothalamus acts as a central processor, receiving a constant stream of information from the gut, fat cells, and bloodstream to determine whether the body needs more fuel or if it has been adequately supplied. Within the intricate circuitry of the hypothalamus, two distinct groups of neurons are engaged in a perpetual tug-of-war for control over your appetite. On one side, you have what are often called the hunger neurons, or orexigenic neurons, which when activated generate powerful signals that increase your desire to eat and motivate you to seek out food. On the opposing side are the satiety neurons, or anorexigenic neurons, which produce signals that create the sensation of fullness and satisfaction, effectively telling your body to stop eating. In a healthy state, these two systems are in a delicate balance. But for many people who struggle with weight, the hunger-promoting signals can become chronically dominant and difficult to ignore. This is precisely where GLP-1 medications intervene to change the outcome of this internal battle. When the drug binds to GLP-1 receptors in the hypothalamus, it acts as a powerful ally to the satiety neurons, dramatically amplifying their "I'm full" signal. At the same time, it effectively dampens the activity of the hunger neurons, turning down the volume on their persistent "I need to eat" message. The result is a decisive shift in the balance of power. It's like having an expert mediator step into a loud argument. Suddenly, the calm, rational voice of satiety becomes much more persuasive than the urgent, demanding voice of hunger, restoring a sense of control and equilibrium to your eating patterns. The neurological changes initiated by GLP-1 medications translate into a tangible and often transformative shift in how people experience food in their daily lives. The most commonly reported effect is a significant reduction in what is often called food noise. This term describes the constant, intrusive mental chatter about food that many people, especially those who have struggled with their weight, experience throughout the day. It's the relentless cycle of planning the next meal while still eating the current one, obsessing over cravings, and feeling as though food occupies an enormous amount of mental and emotional energy. GLP-1 medications can quiet this internal monologue, creating a profound sense of peace and freedom. One of the most immediate and noticeable changes is a newfound ability to feel satisfied with much smaller portions of food. Before starting the medication, an individual might have needed to eat a large plate of food to feel full, and even then, the feeling of satiety might have been fleeting. While on a GLP-1 agonist, that same person might find themselves feeling completely full and satisfied after eating only a third or half of their usual portion. This is a direct result of the amplified satiety signals in the hypothalamus. The brain receives the "I'm full" message much earlier and more forcefully, making it easier and more natural to stop eating without feeling deprived or psychologically restricted. This dramatic change in appetite and satiety has a profound impact on behavior. People often describe a feeling of being in control of food for the first time, rather than feeling controlled by it. The constant urge to snack between meals often dissipates, and the ability to distinguish between true physiological hunger and emotional or habitual eating becomes much clearer. One patient vividly described the experience as, "It's like someone finally turned down the volume on my lifelong food obsession." This sentiment is echoed by countless others who feel that the medication has liberated them from a constant, exhausting battle with their own appetite, allowing them to redirect their mental energy to other aspects of their lives. Furthermore, this suppression of appetite makes it significantly easier to make healthier food choices. When you are not battling overwhelming hunger and intense cravings, you are in a much better position to think rationally about your meals. The frantic need to grab the quickest, most convenient, and often least healthy option is replaced by a calm ability to plan and prepare more nutritious food. The medication creates the biological conditions that allow for more mindful eating. It's not that the medication forces you to eat salad. Rather, it quiets the overwhelming biological drive for high-calorie foods, giving your more rational mind a stronger voice in your dietary decisions. The influence of GLP-1 medications on appetite extends beyond the hypothalamus and the basic mechanics of hunger. These drugs also have a significant impact on the brain's reward system, which plays a crucial role in cravings and the pleasurable aspects of eating. Key areas involved in this system include the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens. These are the same brain regions that are heavily involved in motivation, pleasure, and addiction, whether it's related to substances, gambling, or in this case, highly palatable foods. This connection helps to explain why certain foods, particularly those high in sugar, fat, and salt, can feel so compelling and difficult to resist. GLP-1 medications appear to modulate the activity in these reward centers, effectively turning down the pleasure volume associated with these highly rewarding foods. When you eat something delicious, your brain releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine, which creates a feeling of pleasure and reinforces the behavior, making you want to repeat it. GLP-1 agonists seem to blunt this dopamine response slightly. Now, this does not mean that food becomes tasteless or unpleasant. Instead, it means that the intense, almost addictive high that can come from eating a pint of ice cream or a bag of chips is diminished. The food is still enjoyable, but it loses its powerful, compulsive pull. This change in the brain's reward circuitry has a direct and powerful effect on food cravings. Many patients report a dramatic reduction in their desire for specific trigger foods that they previously found irresistible. For example, a person who once couldn't go a day without thinking about chocolate might find that they can have it in the house without feeling a constant urge to eat it. The ability to have a single cookie and feel satisfied, rather than feeling compelled to finish the entire package, is a common and, honestly, life-changing experience for many. This reduction in cravings removes one of the biggest obstacles to successful and sustainable weight management. Ultimately, this effect on the reward system provides enormous psychological relief. It frees individuals from the cycle of craving, giving in, and feeling guilty. For the first time, many feel normal around food. They report that they are finally able to eat based on hunger and nutritional needs rather than being driven by powerful, often uncontrollable cravings. Interestingly, this often leads to a natural shift in food preferences. As the intense reward from ultra-processed foods decreases, people often find themselves naturally gravitating towards simpler, whole foods like lean proteins and vegetables, not because they are forcing themselves, but because those choices feel more satisfying in a balanced and non-compulsive way. Beyond the intricate signaling within the brain, the second major way that GLP-1 medications promote significant weight loss is through a powerful and direct physical effect on your digestive system. Specifically, these drugs work to slow down a fundamental process known as gastric emptying. In simple terms, gastric emptying is just the medical phrase for how quickly the food you consume leaves your stomach and progresses into the small intestine for further digestion and nutrient absorption. Under normal physiological conditions, after you finish a meal, your stomach methodically churns and breaks down the food, gradually releasing its contents over a period of approximately 2 to 4 hours, depending on the meal's composition. This rate is carefully controlled by a complex interplay of hormones and nerve signals, ensuring your digestive system is not overwhelmed. The body's natural GLP-1 hormone is one of the key players in this regulatory process, acting as a natural brake to moderate the speed of digestion. However, as we have learned, natural GLP-1 has a very short lifespan in the body. GLP-1 receptor agonist medications, being engineered to be far more potent and resistant to breakdown, dramatically amplify this braking effect on the stomach. They can significantly slow down the rate of gastric emptying, in some cases doubling or even tripling the amount of time it takes for a meal to fully exit the stomach. This creates a physiological state where the digestive process is much more deliberate and prolonged, fundamentally altering the physical sensations associated with eating and fullness. So, why is this deliberate slowing of the stomach so critically important for achieving weight loss? The most straightforward way to understand its impact is to think of your stomach as a temporary holding reservoir for the food you eat. If the contents of that reservoir are held for a much longer period of time, the direct and unavoidable consequence is that you will feel physically full and satiated for many more hours after you have finished eating. This mechanism effectively creates a natural, built-in portion control system that not only limits how much you can eat at one time, but also extends the duration of satiety, reducing the desire to eat again soon after a meal. This powerful effect on gastric motility works in perfect harmony with the brain-centered mechanisms we discussed earlier. While the medication is telling your brain's hypothalamus that you are full, it is also creating a physical reality in your stomach that reinforces that very same message. This two-pronged approach is incredibly effective. It aligns the psychological sensation of satiety with a genuine, prolonged physical feeling of fullness. This synergy is a key reason why individuals on these medications find it significantly easier to reduce their calorie intake without the constant, gnawing hunger that so often undermines traditional dieting efforts, making the weight loss journey feel more manageable and less like a constant battle against their own body. The prolonged sensation of fullness created by delayed gastric emptying is not just a vague or subjective feeling. It is rooted in a very real and tangible mechanical process within your body. The walls of your stomach are intricately embedded with specialized nerve endings known as mechanoreceptors, or more simply, stretch receptors. As your stomach fills with food during a meal, its walls expand. This physical stretching activates these receptors, which then send powerful signals directly to your brainstem and hypothalamus. These neural messages essentially communicate, the stomach is reaching capacity, it is time to stop eating. When a GLP-1 receptor agonist slows down the emptying of the stomach remains physically stretched for a much longer period following a meal. Consequently, these stretch receptors stay activated for hours on end, continuously firing their "I'm full" signals to your brain. This sustained signaling reinforces the feeling of satiety long after you have put down your fork and knife, effectively silencing the hunger cues that would normally emerge as the stomach empties. It creates a powerful physiological state of fullness that helps prevent overeating and reduces the frequency of meals needed throughout the day, contributing directly to a calorie deficit. This mechanical advantage has very clear implications for daily eating patterns and behaviors. First, people taking these medications often discover they are physically incapable of consuming the same volume of food in a single sitting. Many patients describe starting to eat a normal-sized meal only to find themselves completely satisfied after just a few bites, or after eating less than half of what is on their plate. The body's stop signal arrives much earlier and with much greater authority than before, making overconsumption difficult. Secondly, this sustained fullness naturally extends the time between meals. A person accustomed to feeling hunger every 3 or 4 hours might now comfortably go 6 hours, 8 hours, or sometimes even more hours without feeling a compelling need to eat. The previous meal is still being slowly processed, providing steady satiety that bridges the gap between breakfast and lunch, or lunch and dinner. This reduction in meal frequency, combined with smaller portion sizes, creates a powerful and almost effortless reduction in total daily calorie intake, which is the fundamental requirement for weight loss to occur. The profound slowing of gastric emptying, while highly effective for weight loss, is also the primary reason behind some of the most commonly reported side effects of GLP-1 medications. Nausea, a feeling of being overly full, bloating, and in some cases vomiting, are particularly common, especially when a person first starts the medication or when their dose is increased. This happens because if you continue to eat your previous portion sizes or eat too quickly, the food can essentially back up in your stomach, which is emptying at a much slower pace than it's used to. This mismatch between the rate of food intake and the rate of gastric outflow can lead to significant discomfort. This is precisely why healthcare providers employ a very careful start low, go slow dosing strategy when initiating treatment with these drugs. Patients are typically started on the lowest possible dose of the medication, which is then gradually increased over a period of several weeks or even months. This methodical titration schedule is not arbitrary. It's specifically designed to give your digestive system, and your body as a whole, adequate time to adapt and adjust to this new, more leisurely pace of processing food. This gradual adaptation period helps to minimize the intensity of gastrointestinal side effects and makes the treatment far more tolerable for the majority of patients over the long term. Understanding this mechanism is crucial for patients to manage their experience on the medication successfully. It really does require a conscious change in eating habits. Individuals learn to eat much more slowly, to pay closer attention to their body's early fullness cues, and to stop eating the moment they begin to feel satisfied, rather than when their plate is empty. They also often find that they feel better eating smaller, more frequent meals if needed, rather than 3 large ones, and that avoiding very high-fat foods can help, since fat naturally slows gastric emptying even further. In essence, the medication forces a more mindful approach to eating, which is honestly a beneficial behavioral change in itself. It is also important to note that this effect on gastric motility means that these medications may not be suitable for everyone. Individuals with a pre-existing condition called gastroparesis, which is a severe and chronic delay in stomach emptying, are generally not candidates for these drugs, as it could worsen their condition. Furthermore, the slow digestion can affect the absorption of other oral medications, which is an important consideration that must be managed by a physician. So, a thorough medical history and discussion with a healthcare provider are absolutely essential before starting treatment to ensure it is both safe and appropriate for the individual's specific health profile. The third powerful mechanism by which GLP-1 medications contribute to effective and sustainable weight loss is through their profound ability to improve blood sugar control. This particular function is, in fact, the original reason these drugs were developed, as they were first created to treat type 2 diabetes. However, the connection between stable blood sugar and weight management is far more direct and important than most people realize. Unstable blood sugar levels, characterized by sharp spikes and subsequent crashes, are a major physiological driver of food cravings, overeating, and fat storage. By creating a more stable glucose environment in the body, these medications address a core metabolic issue that often perpetuates the cycle of weight gain. Think of your body's energy management like a finely tuned engine. When blood sugar is stable, the engine runs smoothly and efficiently, drawing fuel as needed without any sputtering or sudden demands. But when blood sugar swings wildly, it's like having a faulty fuel line. The engine experiences sudden surges of power followed by stalls, creating a state of emergency that demands a quick fix. Your brain interprets a rapid drop in blood sugar as a critical threat, triggering intense cravings for quick energy sources, which are typically high in sugar and refined carbohydrates. GLP-1 medications help to smooth out this entire process, ensuring the engine gets a steady, reliable supply of fuel throughout the day. This stabilization of blood sugar is not just about preventing diabetes, it's about creating the optimal internal environment for weight loss. When your blood sugar is on a roller coaster, your body is more likely to store excess energy as fat, especially after a high-sugar meal causes a massive insulin surge. Conversely, when blood sugar is kept within a narrow, healthy range, your body becomes more efficient at using the food you eat for immediate energy, or storing it in muscle as glycogen. It also becomes more adept at tapping into its existing fat stores for fuel between meals, a process which is essential for losing weight. This metabolic shift is really a cornerstone of the success seen with these drugs. Therefore, the blood sugar regulating effects of GLP-1 medications are not a separate secondary benefit. They are intricately woven into the fabric of their weight loss efficacy. This mechanism works in concert with the brain-based appetite suppression and the delayed gastric emptying to create a comprehensive solution. By preventing the desperate biology-driven cravings that come from blood sugar crashes, the medication makes it far easier for individuals to adhere to a healthier eating pattern. You're no longer fighting against urgent primal signals for sugar, making conscious, healthy food choices feel more natural and less like a battle of willpower. It tackles the problem at its metabolic root. GLP-1 medications achieve their remarkable blood sugar control by intelligently modulating the activity of two critical pancreatic hormones, insulin and glucagon. These two hormones have opposing effects and work together like a seesaw to keep your blood glucose levels in perfect balance. Insulin's job is to lower blood sugar by helping your cells absorb glucose from the bloodstream after you eat. Glucagon's job is to raise blood sugar by signaling your liver to release its stored glucose into the bloodstream when you haven't eaten for a while. GLP-1 agonists act as a master conductor for this hormonal orchestra, making sure each hormone plays its part at precisely the right time and in the right amount. First, let's look at insulin. GLP-1 medications enhance the release of insulin from the beta cells of your pancreas, but they do so in a very clever, glucose-dependent manner. This means the medication only stimulates insulin release when your blood sugar levels are elevated, such as after a meal. When your blood sugar is normal or low, the medication has little to no effect on insulin secretion. This is a crucial and honestly brilliant safety feature. It distinguishes GLP-1 agonists from some older diabetes medications that can cause insulin to be released indiscriminately, leading to dangerously low blood sugar episodes known as hypoglycemia. With GLP-1 drugs, the risk of hypoglycemia is extremely low when used on their own. Second, these medications address the other side of the equation by suppressing the release of glucagon. In many people with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, the pancreas releases too much glucagon, especially after meals, which is counterproductive. This excess glucagon tells the liver to dump even more sugar into the bloodstream at the exact moment when the body is already trying to manage the sugar from the food just eaten. This contributes significantly to the high blood sugar spikes seen after meals. By putting the brakes on glucagon release, GLP-1 medications help to prevent these excessive post-meal glucose surges, leading to a much smoother and more controlled blood sugar curve. This dual action of boosting insulin smartly while simultaneously taming glucagon is what makes these medications so effective at creating metabolic stability. They don't just push blood sugar down, they help the body regulate it more intelligently and efficiently, mimicking the response of a healthy, well-functioning metabolic system. Over time, this improved control can lead to a host of other benefits. By reducing the burden on the pancreas's insulin-producing cells and protecting them from the stress of high blood sugar, these drugs may even help to preserve pancreatic function over the long term, which is a significant advantage in managing metabolic disease. The direct result of this improved blood sugar stability is the breaking of the vicious spike and crash cycle that drives so many people to overeat. So, here's how that destructive cycle typically works. You consume a meal high in refined carbohydrates or sugar, which causes a rapid and steep spike in your blood glucose. In response, your pancreas releases a large surge of insulin to quickly shuttle all that sugar out of the bloodstream. This insulin surge is often too powerful, overcorrecting the problem and causing your blood sugar to plummet or crash a short time later. And well, this crash is what triggers intense hunger and powerful cravings, as your brain sends out an emergency signal for more quick energy. This craving cycle is a powerful biological trap. When your blood sugar crashes, you are not just experiencing a mild desire for a snack, you are dealing with a primal urge for survival. Your brain is not politely requesting more food, it is demanding it. This is why willpower so often fails in these moments. You reach for another sugary snack or drink to resolve the crash, which provides a temporary fix but only serves to start the entire roller coaster cycle all over again. This pattern of spiking and crashing not only leads to excessive calorie consumption, but also contributes to feelings of fatigue, irritability, and brain fog, making it even harder to make healthy choices. GLP-1 medications effectively dismantle this cycle at its core. By promoting a more measured insulin release and preventing the large post-meal blood sugar spikes, they eliminate the subsequent crash. When your blood sugar remains on a more even keel throughout the day, the emergency signals for sugar are never sent. The intense, uncontrollable cravings simply melt away. This stability provides a newfound sense of calm and control around food. You can eat a meal and move on with your day without anticipating the inevitable energy slump and subsequent desperate search for a sugary pick-me-up an hour or two later. This stabilization also translates into more consistent and reliable energy levels throughout the day. Instead of experiencing those classic post-lunch slumps that leave you feeling drowsy and unproductive, many people on these medications report having steadier, more sustained energy. This improved vitality has a positive knock-on effect. When you feel more energetic, you are more likely to engage in physical activity, you are more productive at work, and you have the mental clarity to plan and prepare healthier meals. By fixing the underlying issue of blood sugar instability, GLP-1 medications create a positive feedback loop that makes the entire process of adopting a healthier lifestyle feel less like a struggle and more like a natural progression. The fourth mechanism of GLP-1 medications is for many individuals the most profoundly life-altering aspect of the treatment, the significant reduction in food cravings and what is commonly referred to as food noise. It is essential to understand that this effect goes far beyond simply feeling less hungry or getting full faster. While appetite suppression is a key benefit, this mechanism addresses a different, more psychological dimension of our relationship with food. It targets the persistent, often obsessive thoughts about eating that can dominate a person's mental landscape, creating a constant internal battle that drains energy and undermines even the most determined weight loss efforts. This is about quieting the mind, not just the stomach. Many people, particularly those who have a long history of struggling with their weight, live with a constant internal monologue centered on food. This is the food noise we are talking about. It is the phenomenon of planning your next meal while you are still in the middle of eating your current one. It is the act of mentally scanning the pantry while you are trying to focus on work. It is the endless loop of obsessing over a particular food you're trying to avoid, or feeling as though your thoughts and daily behaviors are perpetually held hostage by the magnetic pull of food. GLP-1 medications have shown a remarkable ability to dramatically turn down the volume on this internal chatter. This quieting of the mind is not a placebo effect, it is driven by concrete neurochemical changes initiated by the medication. As we touched on briefly, GLP-1 agonists influence the brain's complex reward pathways. They appear to modulate the signaling of dopamine, a key neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, motivation, and reward. This does not mean that food suddenly becomes bland or unappealing. Instead, it means the intense, almost addictive quality of certain highly palatable foods, those engineered to be high in sugar, fat, and salt, is significantly diminished. The food can still be enjoyed, but it loses its powerful, compulsive grip on your brain's reward circuitry, making it just one of life's many pleasures rather than the central one. The practical result of this is a newfound freedom. Patients frequently report astonishing changes in their daily lives that illustrate this point perfectly. They describe walking past their favorite fast food restaurant or the bakery section of the grocery store without even registering a desire to stop. They find they can have a single piece of chocolate and feel perfectly satisfied, putting the rest away without a second thought, a feat that might have seemed impossible before. The constant mental calculus of what can I eat next is replaced by a sense of calm. For many, it feels like they are finally being liberated from a prison of food-centric thoughts, allowing them to engage more fully with the world around them. The remarkable ability of GLP-1 medications to silence food noise and reduce cravings stems from their influence on multiple brain regions that govern not just reward, but also impulse control and executive function. Beyond the dopamine pathways in the nucleus accumbens, these drugs also appear to affect activity in the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain responsible for higher-order thinking, decision-making, and moderating impulsive behavior. By enhancing the signaling in this area, the medication can effectively strengthen your ability to make conscious, rational choices about food, even when faced with tempting, unhealthy options. It gives your more thoughtful self a stronger voice in the internal debate. This neurological shift provides immense psychological relief, a benefit that really cannot be overstated. For decades, the narrative around weight loss has been centered on willpower, discipline, and restriction. People who struggle with weight are often made to feel as though they have a character flaw or a lack of self-control. These medications reveal a different truth. For many, the battle is not one of character but of biology. The relentless food noise and intense cravings are the result of powerful, deeply ingrained neurochemical signals. By directly addressing and calming these signals, the medication lifts an enormous psychological burden, freeing people from the cycle of craving, succumbing, and feeling guilt or shame. One patient articulated this feeling of relief in a way that resonates with many. She said, "For the first time in my adult life, I feel normal around food. I eat when my body tells me I'm hungry, I stop when I feel full, and I simply don't think about food constantly throughout the day." This statement really captures the essence of the experience. It is not about being on a restrictive diet, it is about having one's relationship with food fundamentally reset to a more balanced and intuitive state. The mental energy that was once consumed by fighting food thoughts can now be redirected toward work, hobbies, relationships, and other fulfilling aspects of life. This newfound mental clarity also makes it significantly easier to have tempting foods in the house without them becoming an all-consuming obsession. Many people on traditional diets must purge their homes of any and all trigger foods to succeed. However, individuals on GLP-1 medications often report that they can keep cookies in the cupboard or ice cream in the freezer for their family members without feeling a constant, nagging pull to eat them. The food is simply there, devoid of its former power. This ability to coexist peacefully with all types of food is a hallmark of a truly healthy and sustainable relationship with eating, and it is a reality that these medications are making possible for millions. An interesting and frequently reported consequence of the reduced cravings and food noise is a gradual but significant shift in actual food preferences. People on GLP-1 medications often find themselves naturally gravitating toward healthier, more nourishing food choices. They may lose their taste for overly sweet drinks, greasy fried foods, or ultra-processed snacks that they once craved daily. Instead, they find themselves desiring simpler, cleaner tastes, such as grilled chicken, fresh vegetables, crisp salads, and whole fruits. This change is not something they have to force. It happens organically as their brain's reward system is recalibrated by the medication. It is crucial to understand that this change in preference does not happen because the medication makes unhealthy foods taste bad. A slice of pizza still tastes like a slice of pizza. Rather, the intense, over-the-top reward and craving response that was previously associated with that food is muted. The pizza is no longer perceived by the brain as a vital, must-have reward. As that artificial high diminishes, individuals are better able to make food choices based on how the food will actually make their body feel. They begin to associate the steady energy from a balanced meal with feeling good, and the heavy, sluggish feeling from an overly rich meal with feeling bad, making the healthier choice the more appealing one. This shift is incredibly powerful for long-term success. It transforms weight management from a constant act of deprivation and resistance into a more positive journey of nourishing the body. When you genuinely prefer the taste and feeling of healthy foods, sticking to a nutritious eating plan ceases to be a chore. It becomes the default, the path of least resistance. This is a complete reversal from the traditional dieting experience, which often involves white-knuckling your way past cravings for the foods you truly want to eat. The medication helps align your wants with your health goals, creating a powerful synergy that fosters sustainable lifestyle changes. This evolving palate works hand in hand with the other mechanisms of the drug. For example, because gastric emptying is slowed, very heavy, greasy, or sugary meals can feel physically uncomfortable, leading to bloating or nausea. This provides immediate negative feedback that reinforces the preference for lighter, more balanced meals. In essence, the medication teaches the body, on both a neurological and a physical level, to prefer the foods that are most conducive to health and well-being. This re-education of the body's responses is perhaps one of the most elegant and effective aspects of how GLP-1 medications help people not only lose weight, but also build a healthier, more peaceful relationship with food for the long haul. Now that we have meticulously examined each of the 4 primary mechanisms, it is crucial to understand that the true power of GLP-1 medications lies not in any single action, but in the beautiful and powerful synergy of all of them working together. These effects are not isolated, they are deeply interconnected, creating a comprehensive and multi-layered physiological shift that makes weight loss more achievable and sustainable than ever before. It is the combination of reduced appetite in the brain, prolonged satiety from the stomach, stable blood sugar from the pancreas, and diminished cravings from the reward centers all firing in concert that makes these drugs so profoundly effective at resetting the body's relationship with food and energy. Let us paint a clear picture of what a typical day might look like for someone benefiting from this synergistic effect, illustrating how these mechanisms weave together in real life. You might wake up in the morning and, for the first time, not feel an immediate ravenous hunger. This is because your blood sugar has remained stable overnight, preventing the morning crash that often drives a desperate search for breakfast. When you do decide to eat, you find that a smaller portion, perhaps a protein-rich yogurt and some berries, is perfectly satisfying. This is your brain's recalibrated satiety signals working in harmony with your body's actual needs, rather than being driven by habit or overwhelming hunger cues. As your day progresses, the synergy continues to work in your favor. The breakfast you ate stays in your stomach for a longer period due to delayed gastric emptying, creating a lasting feeling of physical fullness that carries you comfortably through the morning. Because your blood sugar is not on a roller coaster, you avoid the mid-morning energy slump and the associated craving for a sugary snack or coffee. When lunchtime approaches, you experience genuine, gentle hunger, not the frantic, ravenous kind that leads to poor choices. This allows you to calmly select a balanced, nutritious meal, once again feeling full and satisfied with a smaller portion than you were previously accustomed to eating. This remarkable pattern continues throughout the entire day, creating a calm and controlled eating experience. Perhaps the most significant change is the liberation of your mental energy. Without the constant internal battle against hunger, the obsessive planning of the next meal, or the fight against powerful cravings, your mind is free to focus on other things: your work, your family, your hobbies. This consistent and almost effortless reduction in calorie intake, achieved without the psychological pain of deprivation, leads to a steady and significant weight loss over time. The medications create the ideal biological conditions that make healthy lifestyle changes feel natural rather than forced. So, let's briefly recap the powerful, 4-pronged approach we have explored today that explains how GLP-1 medications so effectively aid in weight loss. First, they directly suppress appetite by acting on the brain's control centers in the hypothalamus, which enhances the signals for satiety and makes it easier to feel full with appropriate portions. Second, they physically slow down gastric emptying, a process which keeps food in your stomach for a longer duration, prolonging the physical sensation of fullness and naturally reducing the overall amount of food you consume throughout the day. This creates a powerful 1-2 punch against overeating, targeting both the brain and the gut simultaneously. Third, these medications are masters of improving blood sugar control. They intelligently enhance the body's own insulin release in response to food, and suppress the hormone glucagon, which prevents the dramatic blood sugar spikes and subsequent crashes that are a primary driver of intense food cravings and the cycle of overeating. And fourth, they profoundly reduce food cravings and the constant mental food noise by modulating the brain's reward pathways. This action diminishes the addictive pull of highly palatable foods, frees up immense mental energy, and provides a deep sense of psychological relief, making healthy choices feel easier and more natural. What is truly revolutionary and exciting about this class of medications is that they fundamentally reframe the treatment of obesity. For the first time on a wide scale, we have a tool that addresses weight management from a deeply physiological and neurological perspective, rather than placing the entire burden on an individual's willpower and ability to endure restriction. These drugs work with your body's natural hormonal systems, amplifying and restoring the signals that have become dysfunctional, rather than asking you to fight against your own biology. This represents a monumental and compassionate shift in our approach to a complex chronic disease. If you're considering GLP-1 medications as a potential option for your health journey, it is absolutely essential that you work closely with a knowledgeable healthcare provider. These are powerful prescription drugs with a specific side effect profile, and they are not suitable for everyone. A qualified doctor can help you determine if they are the right choice for your unique medical history, provide guidance on managing side effects, and integrate the medication into a comprehensive plan. They are a tool, not a magic pill, and work best when combined with nutritional guidance, increased physical activity, and ongoing medical support to achieve lasting success.